I have to give a shout out to Darian McNeil Reason. And usually on my channel, I don't like to do stories where I have to reach back a few years when it comes to certain stories and everything like that. But after looking into this one and seeing why they were so adamant of wanting me to talk about this, I can see why they wanted me to touch on it, because it was a story that did not get a lot of traction, unless y'all can tell me down in the comments if you have heard about this story in the past. So, and I think the family of this little girl is still seeking out justice to this day for what happened to her back in 2016. So this is a 4-year-old story that I'm about to bring to you right now that carried over about 2 years before it kind of went cold. So in this picture, you see a little girl by the name of Amaya Braxton, and she was 7 years old, and she was struck and killed by a car, by someone driving, when she was getting off the bus. And unfortunately, her family never got justice because there were never any charges brought up on the person that was involved with her death. So much, in fact, that they went to court twice for 2 different trials, focus on the same thing. And both times they were basically denied justice. So the person who hit her and killed her basically got away with murder twice. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this article. And when you find out where this happened at, it doesn't surprise you. It's coming out of this county called Pontotoc. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. And this actually located in, I think, in Mississippi. So that tells you all you need to know. A Pontotoc County family is not satisfied. And by the way, the article I'm reading from came out in September 2017. So you're talking about almost a year after the accident happened. A Pontotoc County family is not satisfied that a grand jury refused to indict a woman who struck and killed a 7-year-old as she got off the school bus last October. Charles and Andrea Braxton hosted a press conference Monday on the Pontotoc County Courthouse steps, asking District Attorney John Weddle to present their daughter's case again to the next grand jury. On October 3rd, 2016, Amaya Braxton had just gotten off the school bus in front of her home at 11126 Old Highway 9 North, just past the Enville store. A SUV driven by Karen, look at that, a Karen, Michelle Carpenter of Saltillo, approached from the rear, failed to stop, and swerved to the right. The child was struck in her own driveway and died from her injuries. The evidence, including an investigation by the Mississippi Highway Patrol, was presented to the Pontotoc County Grand Jury earlier this month, when that panel adjourned on September 13th. They did not indict Carpenter on any criminal charges. Through spokesman James Hall, the family questions whether MHP conducted a thorough investigation and want to know why Nathan's Law was not enforced. Passing a stopped school bus, if it causes injury, it automatically becomes a felony. Not only did she, as in Carpenter's, pass a stopped bus, she passed on the right and struck and killed a child. Mother Andrea Braxton praised Pontotoc County Sheriff Leo Mask for his support during the past year, as she read from a prepared statement. "We are not satisfied with the grand jury," Andrea Braxton said. "Citizens in every corner of this county are amazed that Carpenter was not indicted. We choose not to dwell on that, but are hopeful that that can be done." Instead of written statements, the family wants the next grand jury to hear from live witnesses. Andrea Braxton said that though the family's private investigation, several witnesses have come forward, some who have never been interviewed by authorities. "We don't want to taint the investigation, so we are not going to divulge their names to the media. We want the police to have a chance to talk to them first. The family is asking anyone who saw the incident contact law enforcement. We want as many people as possible to get involved," Charles Braxton said. "This time it was our child. In a few years, it could be your grandchild. The only thing we're asking for is justice. In Mississippi, before someone is formally charged with a crime, the evidence is presented to a grand jury of between 15 and 20 registered voters. If they feel there is enough evidence to move forward with a trial, they hand down a true bill or indictment. Pontotoc County holds 3 grand juries per year. The Braxton family is calling for the case to be presented again to the next grand jury in January." Now, I'm going to be reading from a couple of articles going forward. The first one that I read was posted on September 25th, 2017. This next one that I'm reading from is from November 16th, 2017. So it's an update. And it says family of girl killed by passing motorist reveals new information. Braxton, age 7, was killed October 4th, 2016 while getting off her school bus in front of her home on Old Highway 9 in Pontotoc County. Law enforcement said the motorist came from behind the bus and veered down the shoulder of the northbound lane instead of going into the opposite lane. In September 2017, a Pontotoc County grand jury decided not to indict the driver who struck Braxton. Her family says these additional eyewitnesses were uncovered independently through their own investigation. These witnesses have direct knowledge of the incident, which occurred on October 4th, 2016, and have pledged to the family to make themselves available to a Pontotoc County grand jury to testify as to their knowledge of the incident. The family says District Attorney John Weddle has indicated he would reconsider presenting the case to a grand jury if additional information and evidence is uncovered. As a result, Braxton's family believes their uncovering will help the case be reheard. The names of these additional eyewitnesses were not made available to the media, but the family says the names have been turned over to all relevant law enforcement authorities. Additionally, the family says it is circulating a petition through Pontotoc County in order for Braxton's case to be represented to a grand jury. Like, look at all the stuff that they have to go through. So moving on from there, I'm trying to find what's the next article, because like I said, there's so many that have come up. So I'm trying to find the next recent article, which looks like January 3rd, 2018. And it says family of Amaya Braxton to present petition signatures to the DA. They says that they have the petition signatures in the hopes of influencing the district attorney to represent the case to a grand jury. It says on Wednesday, the Braxton family held a news conference to inform the public they have collected 2,600 signatures. They are calling for District Attorney John Weddle to represent their daughter's case to a grand jury. Of course, in September of 2017, they denied to indict the person who struck Amaya Braxton. It says the family also stated that the driver is in violation of Nathan's Law, which requires motorists to stop at least 10 feet from a school bus when loading or offloading children. According to the Mississippi Department of Education, the law also authorizes a charge of felony assault and a prison sentence of up to 20 years for motorists convicted of illegally passing a school bus that results in injury or death. The family also say they have several witnesses who are willing to go before the court. Now the family waits to see if Weddle will accept these signatures and represent the case before a grand jury. In November, at a similar news conference, the family said Weddle had indicated he would reconsider presenting the case to a grand jury if additional information and evidence is uncovered. Now we move on to January 8th, 2018, which was a few days later, where it says second grand jury declines to indict driver in the death of Amaya Braxton. Mind you, the family has all the stuff they need to get the indictment, with the petition and everything like that, but they still decided not to. It says a second grand jury has declined to indict the driver who struck and killed 7-year-old Amaya Braxton as she was getting off of her bus. They said that a grand jury didn't indict the driver in September, and a grand jury met on January 3rd, and they said they deliberated and declined to indict the driver. So this is the second time that they basically let this person get away with murder, homicide at least. It says Weddle says the case was represented due to additional statements received by his office, one of which provided additional material testimony. Last Wednesday, the Braxton family held I think I read that part already. Cases such as these are heartbreaking. Our prayers are continually with the Braxton family in the loss of Amaya. The members of the grand juries that considered this case did so carefully with the greatest amount of concern. The correct legal process has been followed, and we must respect their decision. The Braxton family will hold a news conference today at 11 a.m. Let me see if there's anything. So now we move on to February 26, 2018, where it says family calls for the Attorney General to investigate the case. It's a shame that this family had to go through all of this just to get it to a trial. But this goes back into the establishment where they don't care about black lives, no matter who you are. If you're man, woman, boy, girl, elderly, whatever. So this one reads, I'm gonna skip the part that I've read already where it rehashes everything. I'm gonna just go to the updated parts. It says the family believes the grand juries did not indict the driver because of District Attorney John Weddle. The family says Weddle briefed them twice on the grand jury's decisions to not indict the driver because the juries did not believe the driver intended to kill Braxton. But that's not the point. They may not have intended to kill her, but the fact of the matter is they violated the Nathan's law, which required them to stop, and they didn't. When the bus was there, they kept going through it, which technically is like driving through a stop sign, which is a driving violation. It says, we believe this element of intent was introduced not by the two grand juries, but by District Attorney Weddle himself, and we call on Attorney General Jim Hood to investigate. The family says Hood should investigate 3 issues. 1, whether Weddle or his assistants either deliberately or inadvertently introduced the eliminate of intent when presenting the case to both grand juries, despite the clear absence of this element from state law. 2, whether Weddle or his assistants should have recused themselves from this case based on any familial or otherwise close connections with the driver. 3, whether Weddle or his associates were derelict in their duties by not giving the grand juries clear and accurate guidance on the letter of the law regarding Nathan's law and regarding state laws covering the negligent and vehicular homicide. The family says there is no doubt the driver committed a crime, and Weddle's inability to secure an indictment is a travesty and a miscarriage of justice. We call on Attorney General Hood to 1, make a full and complete inquiry into this matter to ensure there has been no prosecutorial misconduct, and 2, appoint a special prosecutor to determine whether this case can be represented to a Pontotoc County grand jury. So let me see if I can, if there's anything else. Now I'm looking, and after 2018 February, that's like the last article about that case until February of this year, February 15th, 2020. So 2 years had passed since then. And basically, the only thing that is from this article is I see a picture of her parents, and they basically have a memorial that was placed there. It says it was a sign that was unveiled by Charles and Andrea Braxton on Saturday afternoon to remember the life of their daughter, Amaya Braxton. The sign, which sits on the northern part of Pontotoc County on Old Highway 9, is designated as the Amaya Braxton Memorial Highway. You know, even though they gave her that's not going to bring their daughter back, and it's not going to give them any peace of mind, considering that nothing happened to this Karen Carpenter person, and it was mainly due to their so-called justice system. It should be called anything but just us, because we know it doesn't work in our favor. It basically came down internally that they just refused to indict this woman. And they believe that it came down to that Weddle guy. And it definitely very well could be the reason as to why that is. But, it's unfortunate because her family got pretty much the runaround. They did everything right, and still everything went wrong for them. So, this is the sad story that we as Black people in America face, no matter what the age of them happen to be. But now seeing, on going through all of those articles and reading that for you, now I can see why my subscriber Darian McNeil wanted me to talk about this story. It was a lot to unpackage. That's a lot to deal with, but me just reading it, that's just one thing. I couldn't even imagine what her parents had to go through for the last 4 years with this. I'm talking about they probably were stressed out, like sleepless nights. Of course, a lot of money goes into this. So, and it didn't get a lot of traction. I did not hear about this story back in 2016. Had I did, I definitely would have talked about it back then, but I did not hear about this. And that's why I was asking if any of you who are familiar with this area, who may live there, did you hear about it? But I have a feeling I'm going to see a lot of people say, no, this is their first time being exposed to this story. And it doesn't surprise me if that's the case, because they wouldn't put something like this out there, even though it should be put out there. But I do offer my condolences to her family. They are still, as far as I'm concerned, fighting to get the justice for their daughter as long as they possibly can. And I know that's like a struggle in and of itself. Definitely RIP to this little girl whose life was cut short because somebody wanted to be completely reckless and negligent and not follow the law of the road because apparently they had somewhere to be. Like, they struck this girl in her driveway. She was walking up to her house and didn't make it to the front door because this person, for whatever reason, had somewhere to be. And I hope that Karen Carpenter has to deal with this every single day. And the fact of the matter is she gets to go to sleep at night. And if she has children, she can go home and see her kids. That family, that husband and wife, they don't get to see their daughter anymore. Imagine them having to walk past her room every single day. She will forever be 9 years old. Like, how can you live with yourself at that? And then it doesn't sound like to me she had a clear conscience because she knows what she did was wrong. The least she could have did was actually admit wrong. I don't even think she did that. They never said that she did. I never heard any. But then again, she was never put on trial to actually say that she was wrong. And I don't even think she even turned herself in. I don't know if they said anything about her even being arrested. They didn't charge her with anything. So, I mean, it's just bad all the way around. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this story, and I'll talk to you in the next one.